how it was that you got involved with this project. Like, what was it that first attracted you to it?
I first was very taken with the script and the story. What Dawn went through was a remarkable experience, and I was very intrigued by the whole heaven aspect of it, obviously, but there was much more to the story that really appealed to me. The movie's about caring for each other and family and love and community coming together to really help this family in their time of need, and it just really spoke to me. It seemed like it was a movie that was about good things, and then when I found out that the company that was going to be making it was going to be giving away all of their profits to charity, then I realized I really had to be a part of it, because it was, the film was also a vehicle for doing good too. So it's a really unique project.
It's funny, you skipped ahead something I was going to ask you later on. It's just that, you've been in films that have made millions of dollars. So for something that has that, like, to know that it can kind of go, it's kind of, am I correct in thinking this is the first time that that's ever been a project you've involved with that had that charity aspect?
Yeah, I've never heard of it before. I mean, this company, Giving Films, very aptly titled company, is just a complete anomaly. I've never heard of a company making movies where they intend to give away all of their profits, not like a percentage of the profits, but all of the profits. And they're just a really unique group of people, and I was really privileged to be a part of it. Yeah.
So obviously it's based on a book. Now, it's a very popular book. Had you heard of the book before? Did you read it? What was your connection to that part of the story?
I wasn't aware of the story before I'd been sent the script, and so I read the script first without doing too much research on what was involved in the book. But the script is a very true adaptation of the book that we were making. They felt like it was very important to just be as authentic to the story as possible. There was no need to approach it with any sort of bias or prejudice. We just wanted to tell it as Dawn experienced it, and be as truthful to that as possible.
Going into this project, 7 million people have enjoyed and bought this book. What was it like going into that fan expectation in relation to this movie?
Yeah, sure. Well, the story has already affected a lot of people through this book. A lot of people have read this book, so there was certainly a responsibility to try to get it right, and I think when you tell a story in a cinematic form, there's the ability to kind of up the ante in a way, and so we were all aware that there was this opportunity to take a story that's already been very impactful and affected a lot of people, and just sort of make it do that even more so.
It was interesting as a fan of your work to see you step into the role of, like, as a family man, father of 3
Yeah.
in this. What was that like for you?
It was a first. I've never played a father before, and now being a new father myself, it really resonated inside of me, and getting to work opposite Kate was such a treat. She's such a talented actress, and wanting to see her play this role was also a big reason why I wanted to do this movie. The story is just as much her story. She's really the hero of the story, and when I read the script the first time, I was so affected by everything that her character had to go through, and all the new decisions she had to make, and all of the things she had to do to make sure that her family stayed together and care for her husband. And I just thought it was this really great female role, and I was a fan of Kate's, and so knowing that she was going to do it, I wanted to be a part of that too.
One of the things that's really a challenge for Don in the movie is sort of seeing his kids go through his own personal pain and the tragedy, and seeing, like, your dad all kind of, like, you had a lot of makeup going on there.
Yeah.
Is that something that you can, like, relate to as a parent, seeing like your world through your kids' eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were filming those scenes the first time that that Don's kids come into the hospital room and see him laid out in the bed. It really affected me on a really sort of profound level. Just trying to imagine myself in that position, and watching my daughter walk into the room and being just so helpless. It really got to me, I guess. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned working with Kate, and clearly, I mean, both her and Michael, this is the passion project for them both, I understand. What was it like? I mean, because Kate, I've known her from other roles. What was your energy like, the two of you on set? How did you enjoy working together?
I loved working with Kate. She's such a rare actress in that she can really kind of do it all, But we started off, we started our filming in the hospital, like right in sort of the thick of, the really sort of heavy stuff. So right away, Kate and I were sort of in the trenches together, and felt like a married couple after a few weeks. But she's such a committed actress, and takes her work very seriously. I remember the first scene I did with her, she walked into the room and didn't have to do too much, but I had met Eva a few times at that point, and I got the chills just because she sounded so much like her, and just her demeanor and everything. She'd really, nailed that character so well.
And you both played real people.
Yes.
So, what kind of element does that change into things when the person that you're playing, not only is it a true story, but they're also still living, and they can be on set and see you, and like that's a different kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. No, when you're playing a real person, it totally adds this unique slant to the work. And then when those people are actually there, present on set, watching you play them, it adds a little bit of extra pressure, I guess. But you have this mirror there that you can constantly hold up, and Don was very giving with his time, and I got so much from having him on set and just being able to pick his brain and ask him, what sort of the specifics of, what were going on in a specific situation, and it was pretty invaluable.
Yeah, and also, you're talking, he's a Texan, so you're talking.
Yeah.
Is there a moment when you're like,
oh yeah,
just say that one more time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I really wanted to talk the talk and walk the walk. Only in Don's case, there wasn't too much walking. He's pretty much held captive in a hospital bed for the majority of the story, and that was intimidating to me. Because as an actor, you like to be on your feet and be engaged and feel visceral, and I'm just, I'm immobile for the majority of the movie, and that presented its own sort of set of challenges. But yeah, no, it was a unique experience for sure.
Now, Michael, it's very clear as a producer, as a screenwriter, and the director that this was clearly a passion project. So what was it like having somebody at the helm who was so invested in this project?
Yeah, I mean, Michael's the reason I really wanted to do this movie. I had been a fan of his for a while. He's a real artist, and when he sent me the script, he sent me a letter attached to it, just sort of describing what his hopes were for this film, and then we sat down and talked, and I was just really taken with how he wanted to approach this story, and the fact that he wanted to make a movie that, as he put it, his parents would be proud of, and that spoke to me. And I wanted to make a movie that my parents would be proud of, my grandparents would be proud of, and I think this is that film.
It's interesting because obviously it's a family film,
yeah,
but it's also made by a family. Obviously, that like Kate and Michael are married. What's it like to work on a project when the woman who plays your wife is married to the director?
It's different, that's for sure. I'd never done that before. you know, they're both such professionals that it was fine, but I remember there was one scene where, you know, Kate and I share a kiss, and you know, Michael's obviously wanting to have the kiss be as authentic and real as possible, but you know, there's still his wife, and I'm kissing her, and so after the fact, after we did the scene, I went over to Michael and I said, you know, if you want, you can come over to the house and you can kiss Rachel, and we'll be even. And thankfully, he never took me up on it. But yeah, no, it was different.
Watching the movie, clearly it's a faith-based project. So I was curious if that was a factor in deciding to do this project.
Not necessarily. No, I was just compelled by the story. You know, I sort of choose my projects just based on what speaks to me, and you know, it is definitely a faith-based film, but there are a lot of themes at play here that I think will speak to a lot of different audiences, and it's just, you know, it's a good family story about you know, hope and love, and ultimately the triumph of the human spirit.
Did his story change or impact your ideas or thoughts about heaven after reading it and talking to Don himself?
I mean, you know, he it's such an interesting case because, you know, he describes a heaven that is so idealistic, and I mean, obviously that's what we all want heaven to be, but I guess his concept of it being this great family reunion, I just really like that, and if I, you know, when the day comes, find myself there, that's what I would like it to be.
Being a family man, has that now impacted the way that you choose films and the projects that you choose? Like, has that changed things at all?
I mean, I guess a little bit. I'm sure it was a factor when I decided to do this movie. You know, I've sometimes acted for rather selfish reasons, and you know, made enough of the sort of bank robbery type films. And having a daughter, I thought, hey, you know, it'd be really nice to make a movie that's a good family story, and one that I'll be proud to have her watch when she comes of age.
How excited are you to see this new faction of the franchise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see what happens with it. I'm sure they'll take it to very interesting places. But you know, I'm keeping my tabs on it. They sort of keep me abreast a little bit as to what's going on in that world, but I don't have any involvement in the movies anymore, but you know, they were obviously a big part of my life for a little while, so I'm very curious. Yeah. If
there was ever like kind of a world where they had some kind of Anakin's like backstory come in a flashback or whatever the way they do it, is that something you'd even be open to?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no, in a heartbeat, for sure. Being a part of that world was a huge deal for me, and you know, was a good 4 or 5 years of my life, and I have fond memories and good friendships from that whole time. But I don't know, if they ever gave me the call, I'd sign up in a heartbeat. Yeah.
What other exciting stuff that you're working on? Like for you, you've got this great project, but what's next after this?
Trying to figure that out. I mean, my main project is being a dad now, and looking after my little girl, who's almost 10 months old now. But I'm probably going to be doing this project called Marco Polo, which will be a Rob Cohen film, who's a filmmaker I'm also a big fan of, and it'll be a big sort of adventure, swashbuckling adventure. Marco Polo travels to China, obviously, and tells his time there. So that's probably my next project. Yeah.
Do you get to go back to Canada often?
As much as I can. We were saying I just came back from there night before last. So you know, I haven't gotten back as much as I would like to in the last couple of years. But I have a farm just north of Toronto that I've been renovating for years now, and hopefully eventually it'll be done, and then I'll have a nice place to bring my family to.
Are you somebody who likes, like, are you a Mr. Fix-It? Like, or is that...
Yeah, I like the idea of being a Mr. Fix-It. I'm not necessarily Mr. Fix-It, and I try my hand at just about everything, and I don't do it right, and then I get someone else to come in and fix it for me. But no, I have fun with all of the building and construction stuff, but I did not miss my calling.
Obviously, people talk about Tim Hortons, trying to get their Tim Hortons fix. Is there anything that when you are a Canadian, not at home, that you have a craving for, things that when you go back, you need to get your fix?
I go for my Tim Hortons double-double. That's my go-to whenever I get back to Canada. That's one of the first things I usually do. Yeah.
My husband just discovered ketchup and pickled chips.
Oh yeah? Ketchup chips as well have always been a favorite of mine. So yeah, Tim Hortons and ketchup chips.
Spoken like a true Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.